Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Pfaff alongside Tom Leyden, and we're here to present another exciting game. Westwood Wolverines play host to the Holliston Panthers. Tom, a lot of action has happened in the last couple of weeks since we've been here. What do you expect to see tonight?
Well, I'm excited that they were able to turn it around last week. You know, to win 34-0 after you drop the season opener on your home field says a lot about how the team can bounce back. I know Norwood is down, but it's always special when two teams that know each other so well go up against each other, particularly early in the season. You know, Holliston's bouncing back from a loss. They were really dominated last week against Lincoln Sudbury. We'll talk about that game and how both of these teams got to where they are entering tonight's game. But rivalry game in the mist should be fun to watch.
We'll pause for the national anthem. We'll be back with football right after this.
Can we face the beautiful American flag supplied by the Westwood Fire Department tonight? And can we honor America with our national anthem?
Westwood won the toss and has elected to defer to the second half, so Holliston will receive the opening kickoff. Westwood started off the season, as you mentioned, Tom, losing to Pembroke on their home field, and last week returned to the win column with a 34-0 drubbing of neighboring Norwood. And on the other side, Holliston began their season beating Millis, and then last week losing to a very powerful Lincoln Sudbury team. So both teams enter tonight's contest at a 1-1 record, trailing the TVL large leaders, Medfield and Hopkinton. Both sit 2-0. Nick McQuarrie will be putting a foot into it to start tonight's game off. Nick really showed a strong leg at Norwood, putting I think 2 or 3 into the end zone in the fly. So really showing a strong leg off there, and that's a huge asset in high school football.
You know, the interesting part about high school football in Massachusetts and how condensed the schedule is you don't have a lot of time to get things in shape. Both of these teams are still trying to get their legs, still trying to figure out exactly what they're made of. Holliston, traditional power, head coach Todd Kiley said after last week's game, he's like, listen, we've got a lot of new faces and new spots, so they're still trying to figure it out. I think they're a little bit undersized than what they've been in the past. They went up against the Lincoln Sudbury team last week that had a lot of size, and when you don't have that size and you can't get your speed and space, it's going to lead to some issues, and that's what happened yesterday. We'll talk about some of the other issues that they had throughout last week's game and see if it comes to fruition tonight.
Not a strong kick, picked up on the 24. Brought back to the 35. Looked like his knee may have been down as he picked the ball up, but officials say no. So the Panthers start off. Ball officially spotted at the 36-yard line. 1st and 10 for quarterback Ryan Benko and his offense.
It's not often I tell you to watch somebody on the offensive line right out of the chute, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. The left tackle for Holliston, number 72, kid by the name of Scott Elliott. He's a junior. He's a monster. He's already being looked at by a lot of colleges.
Holliston starting off in their war package, giving to Jake Armstrong off left tackle. Wrapped up, but not after getting 6, maybe 7 yards on that play. So that'll set up a 2nd and about 4. Looks like they give him 6. Quick no huddle. Again in the war package. Coming back the other way. This time stopped by the Wolverines. never brought down. That was Brad Seymour, the senior. Wide receiver brought in as a wingback on that, and Jake Armstrong, the wingback on the right side, where they run that end around often out of this war package. So it's a big third down here for Westwood. It's a typical run package that this is set up for Holliston. They come back the other way, the jet sweep. He's stopped.
And that's a good start for the Westwood defense. Obviously, Holliston really trying to condense things, keep things tight, trying to some confusion and some misdirection. And for the defense to step up as they have, it looks like they might even be thinking about going for it, which plays into some of the issues that Holliston had last week with their punt game. We'll see if they try to draw these guys offside.
Same setup. Benko is not under center. That is Henry Naughton, Jr. The give is to Armstrong, and he is stopped right near the line to gain. And it looks like with the spot, it's going to be, they're going to give it to him, I believe, as the chains are moving.
So in last week's loss to Lincoln Sudbury, Holliston had a punt blocked, which led to a short field for Lincoln Sudbury, and they scored. That really changed the flow of the game. And then later on, they had a short punt. So the special teams issues are pretty prevalent for this team.
Off the right tackle, a nice hit low. Looks like that was Dom Howe, the junior.
Tackle by Dom Huff. A gain of 1 on the play, 2nd and 9.
Sets up 2nd and 9. Holliston does have a pass, a halfback option off of this. And here it is. Pass is short and broken up there by Jake Antonucci.
Through the first 2 games, it's pretty clear that Jake Antonucci is the MVP of this team. He's got 5 touchdowns on offense, but he's also made some big plays defensively.
So that's sets up a 3rd and long. Let's see if Holliston's traditional offense is a spread package. Let's see what they do here at 3rd and long, typically a passing down.
3rd down and 9.
It's a big play at midfield. 8:37 left to go in this opening quarter. And it looks like they're setting up in the spread.
And they got Benko back in there in the pistol at quarterback.
Taking the direct snap. Fakes right, looks left. Wide receiver's kind of a little bubble screen. He's going to be short by about 1 yard.
That one was to Brad Seymour. You remember 2 weeks ago when we were here, some of the tackling issues that Westwood had, as we have a player who's hurt on the field now. They weren't wrapping up. And I wasn't at last week's game. Was it better?
Well, Norwood gained about 50 yards in total offense, so it's really difficult to say that it was entirely the defense. But they did tackle better, but that being said, they didn't have the kind of ball carriers that Holliston or Pembroke presented 2 weeks ago. Can't see who that player down is, but it looks like they're calling for the emergency medical staff to come out onto the field.
Yeah, when you see the instant wave to the ambulance, that's never a good sign. Obviously, everyone concerned. And I remember a couple of years ago being here for this Westwood Day game, and right at the end of that game, one of the kids on the Westwood team got injured, and they had to call the ambulance. So they're obviously going to take good care of him. They're going to do everything they can to make sure that he's all right. We're still trying to find a number. Maybe we can zoom in on that and see if we can get a number of who it is.
Both teams have retreated to the sideline. The early indication is it's really hard to tell. Don't want to say the wrong name. The last year against Silver Lake in the playoff game hosted here at Westwood, there was an injured player that thankfully turned out to be relatively nothing. It was a stinger, but they did bring the stretcher out onto the field, and he was hauled away in an ambulance. So no word yet on the injury, or the extent of the injury seems concerning.
Going down to the leg area, you have a lot of traffic right by the line of scrimmage. It's almost inevitable that somebody's leg at some point of the season is going to get rolled up.
Yeah, and you see that at all levels of football. Action going down on the ground, and it takes relatively little to twist a knee or an ankle or obviously any of those joints.
And the surface, while you have some give, is still relatively hard. You know, it's an artificial surface. And when you're talking about 250 pounds coming down on a leg, there's not much you can do defensively.
So last week, as you mentioned, the Norwood game, I said Norwood held to just at about 50 yards total offense. Was not a good game for Norwood, but Westwood constantly moved the ball down the field, was very effective in the long passes. And we're getting now word it looks like the injured Wolverine is James Dawson, number 74.
And he's right up there on the defensive line, so it's not a surprise.
Well, it looks like this could be an extended timeout. I think we'll take a quick break and come back when the action resumes. We're back after about a 10 to 15 minute intermission, waiting for the injured Wolverine to be taken off the field. You may see there he's being carted off on a stretcher. Looks to be a lower leg injury, which is always better than the other side. And the injured player, we believe, is number 74, James Dawson. We didn't get total confirmation on that, but our eyes tell us it was number 74 is on the field. So we're back after a lengthy intermission. Both teams took advantage of the time and stretched and loosened up in their own end zones. 8:16 remaining in the first, and we're coming back with the action at 4th and 1, and Holliston in their war package.
It is 4th down and 1 for Holliston.
The pitch is to Armstrong, who finds a seam up the middle. He's tackled after a long gain by Jake Antonucci. So it'll be first down, ball on the 37-yard line for Holliston. This opening drive started on their own 36. Back to the war, same play, pitch left side to Armstrong, sorry.
They're working quick,
Jake
and
Armstrong.
this is where it becomes a big challenge to bounce back from that, because when you're the Westwood defense and you see one of your teammates go down like that, your first concern is for his health. Then immediately you start thinking about how are we going to bounce back and how do we replace him up front. And you got to think about the game plan, you got to think about the intensity of the game, you got to shake that off as quick as possible.
2nd and 6. Same play, other direction. Break through the line, we got a fumble. Looks like Holliston is the one who jumped on that after an additional gain of 4 or 5 yards, a fumble.
Alex Kelly.
And we have another
downfield.
Injured Wolverine hobbling off the field.
Fumble at the end of the play, recovered by Alexander Kelly of Holliston.
That's Drew Durker, who's coming off the field. He's favoring his left leg, his left ankle. He's not putting any weight on his left foot as this drive continues from the 14-yard line.
We got an end-around reverse. Antonucci comes up. Tackled there by Brian Murray. Down low, and Antonucci up high.
Seymour, the ball carrier.
Loss of 1.5 on the play.
Tackled by Murray for a loss of 2 on the play. 2nd and 12 at the Westwood 16.
So that's Henry Naughton taking the direct snap in this war package. Jake Armstrong bounces it out to the left side where there's nobody there.
Jake Armstrong, the ball carrier.
Panthers score first.
Touchdown, Holliston.
It's a 16-yard run around the left end. What I give Holliston a lot of credit for in this opening drive was the fact that they set the pace and the fact that they were able to dictate the flow of this game and dictate the tone of this game right out of the chute, at least
16-yard
offensively.
touchdown run.
Westwood back on their heels. They're going to need to regroup. You got one player who's already injured and gone off the field. You got another player who's sitting on the bench. This is where the mental aspect of football really catches up with you, and the guys got to shake it off and try to gather themselves and see what they can do.
Ryan Benko holding
Connor Mulvaney in for the extra point, which is good, making the score 7-0.
Holliston 7, Westwood nothing.
We weren't told as to why, but we do have Connor Powers, senior lineman, both ways, is on the sideline in street clothes. So losing him, and then also losing James Dawson on that defensive line, really is putting Westwood at a disadvantage. And that war package really makes a punching bag of that defensive line. So losing two effective players on the defensive line front really puts Westwood in the hole.
And they've got to regroup quickly. Holliston's going to push the pace. Holliston's going to get up on the ball immediately after it's blown dead. So the defensive front and the linebackers are going to have to know that they got to get set right away. Could change the tone of this one right now with the Antonucci and Fay back to receive this kick at about their 10-yard line.
Mulvaney into kickoff for Holliston.
Mulvaney doing kicking duties. Nice end over end kick, taken by Fay at the 10. Looks like he had a seam up the middle, decided to bounce it out to the left side. Thought maybe they got away with a face mask. Thought I saw his head turn around.
Yeah, no, it looked that way to me too. So you got the ball now on your 27-yard line. Reed Wilson takes control of the offense here. And we'll see how he does. He's coming off a game in which he played very well, and he put up some good numbers against Norwood. Now you're hoping that confidence can carry over to this game against obviously a much better opponent, but hopefully he deals with whatever ailments he might be dealing with physically that can keep this offense moving as they did against Norwood last week.
Well, a big part of the plays that they had last week going for them was the long pass, and in this weather, that's going to be really difficult to replicate. So they're in the pistol. Antonucci in motion. They give to him in the jet sweep, end around right. Antonucci tries to cut the corner. Gets about 2 on the play. Ball is spotted at the 30.
Mentioned earlier that Antonucci's been the offensive MVP. He had 2 touchdowns in the first game, the loss to Pembroke. 3 touchdowns last week against Norwood. Even when you know that the other team is going to key on him, when they know that he's the chief weapon for this Westwood offense, to be able to accomplish what he's accomplished so far, it says a lot about his talent. If you could just get him in space, give him an opportunity to make some people miss, as we talked about in the first game, that's one of his strengths, and that's, I'm sure, what the Green's going to try to do tonight.
Holliston in a 4-3 defense. Sometimes they will go to a man coverage and lose one of their linemen. Fay with the handoff up the middle, going nowhere. Maybe a half yard.
So now you're faced with a throwing situation right out of the chute. We're going to see how
Initial hit by number 51.
Reed reacts to the opportunity here to get the ball out. And the last thing you want to have once the other team drives down the field and takes a quick 7-0 lead on you is to have a 3 and out. So this is a really critical 3rd down for the Westwood offense right out of the chute.
5 minutes left to go in this first quarter. Westwood coming out with 2 receivers left, 2 receivers right. That's Heaspelink, McDonald split right, Murray and Antonucci left. Rolling to his left, looking downfield. He's got Brian Murray, complete, good for a first down.
Wilson's pass complete to Brian Murray.
14-yard gain, exactly what you needed. A great job by Murray right there.
It was a good route,
14-yard pass.
good timing.
Wolverines at their own 40.
Kind of an extended pitch and catch. Didn't ask too much of the quarterback or the receiver.
And that's what this offense needs. We saw that in the beginning of the second half, the 3rd quarter of the game against Pembroke. They really seemed to get in a flow. They got Reed very comfortable. He was making the short completions, and that's exactly what we saw right there. Get him in some space and get him a quick 14 yards.
Fay off right tackle. Good for about 4. Had a good size hole, closed up once he got to the second level. Clock is running, 2nd and 6.
Chris, I'm doing my best tonight to try to keep track of the stats. We'll see if we can do that. So far, so good. 2 rushes for Fay. He's got 4 yards.
There's a gain of 4 on the play. 2nd and 6. Just across the Westwood 48.
Wilson coming back from the sideline with the play. Well, they didn't get the 3 and out. They did convert their first down of the night. Let's see what they can do here on 2nd and 6. Give us up the middle of Fay again. He's stopped by a linebacker.
That is a good push by that Holliston defense. They're going to try to test the inside. They may feel they have a size advantage, but so far Holliston's been up to the challenge.
Fay was the carrier.
Brought down by Scott Elliott.
And now another 3rd down. 3rd and 6 this time, a little bit shorter, but you would think it's going to be another throwing situation for Reed Wilson.
Correction, a gain of 1. It is 3rd down and 5 at the Westwood 49.
Same package of receivers. McDonald and Heaspelink right. Murray and Antonucci left. Fay in the backfield alongside Wilson. Rolling left. Cuts the route off. There's thrown behind Murray. It's intercepted. That's Jake Armstrong with the pick. Runs it back to the Westwood 40, 41-yard line.
About a 20-yard return on a play that was basically the same play they ran on the first 3rd down that they were able to convert. Armstrong with a good job recognizing it. He had just seen it, got a jump on it. Wasn't the greatest throw by Reed. And now Holliston once again right in scoring distance on the 41.
Yeah, they didn't disguise that at all. They just came right back to the well. They figured it worked once before. We'll run it again. But Jake Armstrong, a senior, excellent athlete, excellent football player. He learned. And right there he reacted. 2:49 left to go in the first. Holliston with the ball, 1st and 10 at the 41-yard line.
And with 2 of the big guys missing now from the defensive line, the guys who are in there replacing him are going to be put to the test.
It's the pitch off the left tackle. He's stopped there by the green jerseys of Westwood.
And Chris, that's Benson Tristan, a very interesting story. He's a freshman.
Wow.
And there are some depth issues right now on this team. There are some guys who are still missing who will be playing later in the season. And I was speaking with the athletic director today, and he was telling me that Benson's a pretty talented kid, and they've been giving him a few looks, and they gave him a look in the backfield last week, did a pretty good job, and they obviously just gave him another look there.
Well, he's set up at the right wing again, this time blocking. Pitches the other way, breaking tackles. It's like number 21, Dwayne Fahey.
Dwayne Fahey, yep.
Dwayne Fahey carried for Holliston.
So using 2 different running backs as the wings and the receivers of these running attempts. And it's working for him. Same play. Give it to Fahey. Picks his way up the middle. Good for about 11 or 12 yards and another 1st down. Westwood really needs to find a way to clog that up.
Yeah. When you have 5 timeouts, too, this would be, in my mind, a place where you take one. You know, just give your guys a chance to gather themselves. It's first time Holliston's actually slowed it down. You know, this is actually, I think, a help to Westwood at this point because they've kept the pace, they've kept the pedal to the metal so far, and this is the first time that they actually slowed down and let that defense gather themselves.
Same play, 3rd time in a row. That time Westwood had it stopped. So we're not seeing Ryan Benko on the field. He is the senior quarterback, and in this war package, it is Henry Naughton, the junior, who is taking the snap.
It's a good stop by Matt Berluti right there, and he wasn't alone. He had Pfaff and Antonucci helping him out on that play as well.
Just over a minute left to go. Clock is running. They keep going to the middle here. You might see it set up to bounce out to the outside. And there's a counter. Inside, missed tackle. Missed another tackle.
And that's the freshman again. He showed some good elusiveness there. You know, they had the contact on him near the line of scrimmage, but he was able to spin around and get himself inside the 10-yard line.
So that's going to set up a 1st and goal at the 5.
Tackle made at the 5-yard line.
Colin Best coming off the field.
Panthers.
Off the right tackle. He stopped there. Good hole fill by the linebacker. I'm not sure if that was Berluti. Matt Berluti did a nice job of read, react, and fill there.
Matt Berluti's got experience. He's one of the seniors that you got to lean on. And in a situation like this where you're down a couple of guys, you need the people who've been out on the field in a varsity situation to step up and make plays. So a couple of good ones by Berluti on this drive.
Off the right side, ball is on the ground. Westwood is signaling it's their ball. Let's see what the refs say. They agree.
That's big.
The exchange was never clean between quarterback and running back. Looks like it was Dom Huff who came up with that ball. The junior linebacker plays alongside Berluti on the inside.
You know, puzzling that Holliston would go to a situation where they pitch it out there under these conditions. They've controlled the line of scrimmage. They've controlled the pace of the game. They keep it simple. Just hand the ball off to these guys. And that's one that they may look back on and say, we probably should have just handed them the ball.
So Wilson and company set up shop on the 9-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. This likely will be the last play of this quarter. 5 seconds remain.
1st and 10, Wolverines at their own 9.
Wilson calling the signals. Give is up the middle to Fay off the right tackle. Good for maybe a half a yard. And that'll bring an end to the first quarter. Score 7-0 in favor of Holliston.
Could have been a lot worse. That was a quarter that was dominated by Holliston in every fashion. And the fact that Westwood was able to escape with just 7 points on the board is a good thing. Now, you can't continue to play that way. You got to figure out how you're going to adjust, what you're going to do to counter what Holliston has done. And what I'd really like to see the Westwood offense do is control the clock a little bit. You know, get a drive together that gets the running game going. Maybe you get the guys outside. We've seen Fay take a couple of runs right up the gut. You'd like to see him maybe get around the end. Like to see Jake Antonucci involved, get the ball in his hands, whether that's handing the ball off to him, giving it to him on a reverse, get it to him on a short pass. He's only handled the ball once so far, and that's a full quarter in the books. You don't want to go through any game with Jake Antonucci only touching the ball once in a quarter.
Well, they've only had the one possession this quarter. They advanced the ball about 20 yards, so their offensive stats are not very impressive at all. Meanwhile, Holliston, staying in that war package, only abandoning a couple times in favor of the spread pistol offense, they found huge success running the ball up the middle. And I would imagine with that success and the conditions, they're going to continue to show that package to Westwood. And Westwood's got to do something to figure that Rubik's Cube out.
And that's where Westwood has the holes now. That's where Westwood has lost 2 guys. That's where James Dawson is missing, and that's where Connor Powers is missing.
So coming back the other way, Westwood will have the wind in their favor, at their back, that is. So may help with some a little farther downfield passing. 2nd and 9. Ball on the 10-yard line. Antonucci comes in motion. Fakes to Antonucci coming over the middle to McDonald. Complete. Nice play, nice catch. Nice pass right on the money to Kevin McDonald. He's a sophomore tight end. It's good for a first down at the 26-yard line for the Wolverines.
16-yard gain for McDonald, and that's a well-conceived play. Right across the middle, down the seam, an easy pass. You don't have to worry about throwing it out towards the sideline where Reed got picked off the last time. It's a controlled pass where you can get your guy in space, and a great catch, too, when you consider the conditions. Shouldn't be overlooked.
Murray comes split right, and hard to tell who that split left is. They're going with a double tight end set. One lone setback. That's Antonucci off the right side. He breaks free. Still on his feet. taken down from behind after a long gain for the Wolverines.
That's what they need. Get a big play, get it to your guy who you know is going to be your biggest weapon. And Antonucci just saw some space, beat the first push by Holliston, was able to get around the outside, kept his feet in bounds down the stripe. And unfortunately, we see a piece of yellow laundry on the ground. We'll see if that's going to get called back.
First flag of the day. Poor timing. We got a push in the back against Westwood.
The penalty is against Westwood. There's an illegal block in the back.
Don't know who that's on. Looks like Brian Murray might have been the offender.
When you see a kid shrugging his shoulders saying, what did I do?
When the palms go up to the sky.
That's usually the give.
Yeah.
You go back to the last game here at home against Pembroke. We got some clarification on the penalty that was really devastating, and it was for them under the pile trying to pull the ball out. That was the penalty that extended that drive. That really was the nail in the coffin. So it's been some bad luck and penalties coming at the wrong time of the game that have been costly for Westwood, but you can't get frustrated. You know that play's there. You know that Antonucci's got the ability to break a big one at any point.
We are seeing Antonucci again in the backfield, and that last play was the first time we saw him lined up in the backfield. The give is to Jake off the left tackle, and he stopped immediately there. Maybe he loses a yard. It's going to set up second and about 14.
Yeah, mark that one down as a loss of 3. You don't see many of those with him. So now you got yourself a second and 15. Probably a throwing situation, and you're thinking here about trying to chip away maybe 2 plays. You know, it's obviously not a 4-play, a 4-down situation, but it's certainly a 2-down situation. You don't want it to be long, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. You want to get yourself in maybe a 3rd and 6 situation, something like that.
Right, in these conditions, you don't want to tax the quarterback. It's really hard to grip the ball, really hard to catch the ball. Short, positive yard gains, that's all you need. Looking to get about half of this back. And they're going to give it off the right side to Antonucci. They're keen on him. They can't bring him down, though. He's now up the left side. Long gain for Jake Antonucci up near midfield.
That's great. We'll give him 23 on that one. Depends on where they mark it.
But he ran
25.
about 40.
Yeah, he did. A good point. You know, that's the athleticism. You can't coach it, and it's tough to defend as well. It was designed to come to the right side. He found a little hole. He cut it back left, took it all the way over to the other side. A 25-yard run for Antonucci.
So that's going to move the chains for Westwood. Antonucci's going to come out after a deserved breather. And Fay is back in the backfield, and spelling Antonucci on the wide receiver role will be Jack Hannon, the junior wide receiver.
Make it quick, Jake. Quick drink and get back out there.
1st and 10 at the 45 for the Wolverines. They run motion up the middle behind that motion man. They come around the outside and make that stop at the line of scrimmage. Do the Panthers.
They're having a tough time running through the middle. That's Fay. That's the 5th time they've run it to Fay. 3 of those times he's been stopped at the line of scrimmage. He's got 5 carries for 5 yards.
Looks like they're leaving that outside linebacker untouched, and who's coming in and making the tackle at the line. He's just crashing down the line when he sees he's not being blocked. So he's out hustling to the hole.
Antonucci on the sideline still. Hasn't re-entered the game after that big 25-yard run, but he looks pretty eager.
It's only been 1 play. They come in motion again. They go off tackle, and he's stopped at the line again. The line unable to hold their blocks, keeping that hole open long enough to get through them.
So 3rd and 10, Antonucci comes back out. Clearly a passing situation. If nothing else, though, what I like about this drive, big play, number 1. Number 2, they were able to bounce back from that penalty and not be buried in the shadow of their own goalpost. And number 3, they've turned the field already. And we've seen how dangerous the punter can be. So even if they don't get this, you're hoping for a good kick that'll put Holliston way back in their own end of the field.
So you got Antonucci in the backfield. Hannon split left. double tight situation, and Murray split right. He splinked the right tight end. Maybe McDonald the left tight end. They go to the left side. That's Antonucci. Fights off one tackler, cuts it upfield. He's going to be short for the first down by about 3 yards. He's pushed out of bounds after a gain of 7. It's going to set up 4th and 3.
What are you doing, Coach?
Difficult to put your defense in a position again, but I don't see any change of personnel out there, so I think they're going for it. I don't disagree with this, but could be setting your defense up here.
You know, you practice all summer. You practice each day, every week, and you want to give yourself an opportunity to make a play. This is where you can make a play. Now, he's doing the smart thing. Got 5 timeouts. Use one of them to talk about it. Make sure you got the right play call.
Yeah, so he calls his whole offense over to talk this over and see what the right play is for this situation.
It is a full timeout.
They're going with a full timeout to really talk in depth.
Well, this is a good situation to do it. Right, 4th and 3 from the opponent's 47 with 6:37 to play in the second quarter, down 7. You want to dial up the right play.
So I'd say the short money is the ball's going to end up in the hands of number 22 somehow, some way. Whether it's on a short hitch route or coming out of the backfield, it's unknown. But so far he's been our offense.
What I'm seeing in the huddle right there is an addition to the personnel in Shamar Hall. That's somebody who we saw get involved a little bit in the offense a couple of weeks ago. Haven't seen him involved yet in what the Wolverines have been doing here, but he's going to line up left. And we'll see. They got a lot of skilled players out there. So we'll see how they spread this out.
And Hall is the lone setback there. Let's see what they've dialed up here. Rolling right. Looking deep. And for some reason, Murray had cut his route short. Was standing there with a defender all over him, and the ball sailed about 10 yards over his head.
And when they look back at that game film, Reed may think about, maybe I should have run that, because there was a lot of green.
You don't need a touchdown there. Just 3 yards is all we needed.
3 yards, and it was looking at him right in the face. So this is now a critical moment for the Westwood defense. The guys up front so far have been pretty manhandled by the Holliston offensive line. So it's their turn to step up. I saw a sophomore just take the field right there, Nahom Hale, who's playing defensive line, number 55.
It's a counter off the left side. Missed tackle.
Tristan, the ball carrier.
23-yard gain. Berluti makes the stop, but now Holliston's right back in business.
That's the danger, going for it at midfield. You don't get it, they're one play away from really doing some damage here. So very interestingly, Holliston does not have their running backs, Jake Armstrong and
Look how tight it is.
Brad Seymour.
Their formations are just so tight. Sorry to step over you right there.
No, it's fine. Yeah, they're something is going on there that Westwood is not able to figure this out.
They're doing a good job of disguising who's going to get the ball. They're all bunched up around the center and the quarterback. They don't have anybody spread out. There's no wide receiver right or left. There's no real tight ends who are moved anywhere beyond just right next to the offensive tackle. So it's difficult to identify who's going to get the ball. And in that case, it was Dwayne Fahey who got it. But on this play, you just never know. It's Fahey again.
He's hit in the backfield, but not brought down. That's Kevin McDonald who slowed him up, but was unable to bring him down. 5:36 left to go until halftime. Third and a long 5, it looks like.
Gain of 3 on the play. It will be 3rd down and 5 from the 25.
Keep rotating in some dry balls from the Holliston sideline. We keep them under cover and drying them with some dry towels over there. We got a timeout taken by Holliston. That's their first.
Full timeout.
5:10 left to go until halftime.
A 3rd and 5, you got to figure this is 2-down territory for them because they probably don't have a field goal kicker who can kick it this far, and they're certainly not going to punt. So when you're thinking defensively, it's not just about making a stop here. What you really want to do is push them back a little bit, get them in a situation where it's not 4th and 3, 4th and 4, even 4th and 5. And in that light, I don't anticipate Holliston doing anything behind the line of scrimmage. I anticipate they're just going to pound the ball forward.
That's what's gotten them this far down the field. So it seems to me that their success is coming up the middle. Their linebackers are not, the Westwood linebackers are not reacting and filling the holes. And I don't know if they're getting taken out or going, as you mentioned, to the fake. But also on that note, the ends and the outside linebackers are not containing the outside. They're crashing, going for the fake in the inside, allowing that counter to bounce to the outside. And that's what we saw the first play come this way that Matt Berluti had to chase from behind after a lengthy gain. So here we are, 3rd and 5.
3rd down and 5.
And we're in the spread. A little bit of a wrinkle from what Westwood's seen so far. He hesitates in the backfield. Does Benko, he gets around the right end, no contain there. He turns the corner and gets out of bounds after a long gain.
So close. That was exactly what they needed. They needed that sack, push him back a little bit, set up a 4th and 13, but you got to give Benko credit. That's his athleticism, getting outside, finding some space, chasing it down and getting the ball now inside the red zone. They're now on the 18-yard line with 5 minutes to go here.
It is enough for a 1st down. 1st and 10, Holliston at the Westwood 18.
So back into the pistol. He's looking in the end zone. He's got his man in there. He was open behind the receiver, and it's in there for the score.
Benko's pass complete.
Like that was Drew Durker on the coverage. Jake Armstrong, the senior, on the receiving end of that throw from Benko.
That's a heck of a catch, and it's almost a carbon copy of a catch we saw a couple weeks ago against Pembroke, and it's a tough play to defend. When you have somebody who's got some extra size on the outside, you can throw the ball up and have him get in a one-on-one situation against the defender. You want to try to create that isolation so he can make the play, and that's what Holliston did on that one.
Mulvaney is in for the extra point try.
Mulvaney ready to attempt the extra point. Snap is good, hold is good, kick is good.
The kick is good.
Just under 5 minutes left to go until halftime. Holliston finds himself 14 points in the lead, 14-0 our score. Westwood really needs to show something here on offense. They need to answer. 14-7 is not bad to go in halftime, but 14 or 21-0 is not good.
Is this the right time to talk about the big comeback last year?
In the rain. I was at the game in Holliston.
Conditions, and that was probably the win of the year against your rival on the road. Dramatic conditions. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that, particularly at the high school level, the team can turn it around quickly. We saw Pembroke score 21 points in the final quarter of week 1, and Westwood put up 34 against Norwood next week. So the offense has the ability to be explosive, but they really got to do something here and not allow Holliston to get the ball back one more time before the second quarter ends.
Seems to me you want to do whatever you could here to get the ball into Antonucci's hands. It's caught there by Jake. Starts up the left side, moves it around to the right, and he's going to try to go back the other way. And he can get past that one tackler. He had some room, but
it's that moment of truth where he had to decide whether to take that outside or inside, and he tried to juke him inside and go out, and the defender made a really good play.
So he ran about twice as many yards as the return will show, but he really shows his ability to make people miss. Westwood starts this drive off on the 27-yard line, 1st and 10.
27-yard line.
What Westwood really needs to do is put their players in the position to succeed. I think we saw Antonucci out of the backfield is their best running back right now. Up the middle with anyone else, nothing's working. That doesn't mean they have to go the rest of the night like that, but You don't have to go for the home run here. You got 4:43 left to go until half. You got 4 of your 5 timeouts remaining. And they're going to take one now.
You know, and a quick change of personnel right before that play was called. Colin Fay was out there originally. They pulled him off the field. They brought the junior wide receiver, John Hannon, into the huddle before they called that timeout. So a little bit of confusion coming off the sideline, and maybe a specific play where Hannon has a key role in this play.
Well, Hannon is split left, and with Fay out, that puts Antonucci in the backfield. 1st and 10 from the 27. They faked Antonucci, rolls right. He's stopped. Loss of about 5.
And you can hear the coaches to our left, they're saying dump it. You know, when you get outside the tackles and there's no risk of being called for an intentional grounding, you want to get rid of that. That's 6 yards that you're not going to get back, 5 yards that you're not going to get back that you very easily could have avoided.
Yeah, you expect that kind of a play from your senior returning quarterback, but for some reason he decided to hold on to it and go down.
Now, I will say this, that play, he rolls right. They had 2 guys on the left side of the field. At least one of them was open, but the problem is that he would have had to stop and then throw the ball back across the field. So it makes me wonder about how that one was drawn up.
Westwood in a double tight end formation. They're blitzing from the left side. Just throws it out of bounds.
You know, that defender came in untouched. It was an outside linebacker who came in unabated, and there was really not much that Reed could do in that situation.
3rd down and 15. The Westwood 20.
Antonucci was the player closest vicinity to that pass, as he was running an out pattern towards the sideline.
That defender who was coming in is wearing jersey number 17. Now, high school football, unfortunately, sometimes you get hit with this. There's no 17 on the roster, so we're going to try to figure out exactly who that is. And in fact, I'm just going to root for him not to make any key plays.
So here we go, a key 3rd and 15 from their own 22. Westwood not hoping to keep the ball out of the hands of Holliston. And we're going to have a penalty, likely a delayed game.
No play. There's a flag.
And we do have a delayed game. Moving back
Westwood delay of game.
ever farther.
So you got to pull a 3rd and 20 play out of your bag of tricks.
It'll be a 5-yard walk-off. It'll be 3rd down and 20.
Something to think could happen. Last year it was Reed Wilson who handled punting duties. A 3rd down punt here may not be the worst thing to consider.
Get that ball rolling. They're spreading it out.
There's nobody back there.
You need protection. You can't roll them to one side or the other and eliminate one half of the field just by which direction he goes. You got to keep him in the pocket, give him some protection.
He's dropping straight back. He's got time. Got Antonucci. Just a little overthrown.
Man, it was there. He was open right at the 40-yard line. If he had hauled that in, it was a 1st down. He had nothing but green grass in front of him. Opportunity there for a big play. They missed it by that much.
So in comes the punting unit for the first time today for the Wolverines. Clock stops with that incomplete pass, so Holliston will have quite a few timeouts remaining and a decent amount of clock.
Nicholas McQuarrie in the punt.
Bad snap down low. McQuarrie gets tackled. Looks like he's going to get an incomplete pass called out of that whole play. The ball was low coming back to the punter, and he did a nice job avoiding the tacklers long enough to try to get a pass off, so he didn't lose all that yardage. The ball come back to the original line of scrimmage.
So now Holliston will get it on the 17-yard line with 3:28 to play here in the 2nd quarter. They've already got a 2-touchdown lead. This is the test of the game so far for that Wolverine defense. And you look at the guys who are lining up front. And you're looking at Colin Best. You're looking at Owen Plouffe. This is where these guys are going to need to step up.
With the incompletion, the Holliston Panthers take
So they'll take over 1st and 10 at the 17.
Noah Heaspelink playing right end on this defensive series.
We got a whistle timeout by the Wolverines. Some confusion about personnel there. It's been a long first half, time-wise, with the injury. It's been almost an hour for the first half here. We still have three and a half minutes left.
And this is the critical point. They got to figure out some way to get some penetration on that offensive line. We've talked about this many times already through these first 2 home games. The Westwood team has the size, and they've shown in flashes that they can get that push, but it has never come consistently. And if it's not going to come consistently and it's going to come in spurts, this is a spurt where it's got to come right now.
What's interesting, a lot of the same players play the offensive line and the defensive line, and one of the things that has been noted to me and what I've seen, offensively, they seem to be more of a pass block first. They don't take that traditional first step forward, and despite it being called a run play, they will more of a passive approach to blocking instead of firing out to their defender. And I think with this athletic defensive line of Holliston, it's costing them on the run game.
I'll give you a hint. We might even have one of the town selectmen up
So
here.
we're back to this war package. They were in the spread last time when they scored that last touchdown to Jake Armstrong. Quarterback sneak up the middle. Big push by the offensive line. Can't bring anybody down. He's good for 10 yards on a quarterback sneak.
That's just pure muscle. Pure muscle. And it's interesting in talking to these guys before today's game, they weren't feeling as though they could overpower or oversize teams, and they were going to try to use their speed. But that play right there was nothing but strength.
Goal at the 6.
They're going to run it again. Not there. Legs might be a little more tired on that try.
Well, a good job. That's a gut check. You know, when that happens to you once, you want to make sure it doesn't happen to you again. Anybody who's been out on the field can tell you when it happens to you, it's
embarrassing.
It's a blow. It's a blow to the ego, if nothing else. So you want to make sure you step it up on the next try.
Here we go. Seymour pitch to the right side. He cuts back left. He's brought down there by, looks like Drew Durker, but not till after he crosses the plane for a score.
Tackle ruled in the end zone. It is a touchdown for Holliston.
So running all over Westwood, I'd say that is the headline for the first half.
Guys who know what they're doing. Brad Seymour had an initial opening. He didn't have to go that far. He was inside the 5-yard line, so he was just able to cut it left, got himself over the goal line.
Extra point try is good.
The kick is good. The try is successful. Holliston 21.
21-0 our score. 2.5 minutes left to go in this first half. Westwood not looking sharp, offensively or defensively.
And you go back to the fact, and I'm not going to put all the blame on how they're playing as to what happened in the first drive, but I can recall a time when our football team in high school, actually from Connecticut, came up here to play Zavarian. And on the first play of the game, our best player broke his leg. And you're talking about kids who are between 15 and 18 years old. That does something to you. When you see a big kid get hurt, like we saw today on the first drive, one of the first few plays, that can leave a mental mark, but it can't be used as an excuse. And now you've got, 24.5 minutes to try to make something happen here, and the offense has the capability of doing it. We saw in that last third down play that you can get in some space. You can get Antonucci open. Reed's got the arm strength to get the ball there. They just got to make it all click. It's disappointing they haven't had it happen so far here in the first half.
Short kick. No one is catching it until it goes out of bounds, and that's a penalty in football.
Kickoff goes out of bounds.
So every comeback in any sport ever always starts with defense. If you don't stop what's been happening, you don't stand a chance to come back. They can't trade points right now. They need to stop on defense. But right now it's the offense with the turn on the field with 2.5 minutes left to go. And I believe they've taken 3 timeouts, so they think they should have 2 remaining in their pocket for this half. So a big play would certainly help the psyche here of the Westwood Wolverines.
One thing that was different about the third down play, he dropped straight back. And I think that opened up the offense to him. It opened up the whole field to Reed. This one would seem as though they'd probably try to get to the right side with 3 spread right.
Holliston moves to a 3-down lineman front, 2 linebackers, 3 receivers split wide right. Wilson rolls right, launches it up for Hannon. Knocked away. 2 white shirts there, 1 behind and 1 in front of Jack Hannon.
Lucky on that one because, Anthony Zindelet was sitting back there ready to pick it off. And Hannon got a hand in there in the last second and actually almost became a defender. I know he was trying to catch it, but the fact that he got his hand up was able to break up that pass so it wasn't picked off.
So 2nd and 10 from the 30-yard line.
2nd and 10.
Antonucci split left. Westwood bringing 3 receivers right again. Safety definitely shading over Antonucci, even though he's covered up there on the line by the defensive back. And we got a penalty.
There is no play.
Looks like Hannon there. Movement.
And his false start against Westwood.
That's going to push him back 5, making this task even more difficult. 2nd and 15 from the 25-yard line.
2nd and 15 from the Westwood.
So what happens to Holliston when they think their opponent's going to go into a passing situation? They will drop linebackers back and they'll move to away from the zone coverage into a man. And so they'll bring 3 pass rushers and that's it, saying we're going to cover your receivers as long as it takes, and our 3 guys will get to you and force you to throw it before you want to. Right now, they've got the 3 down linemen, but now they're bringing some linebackers. They're showing blitz. Let's see if they back off or they come. No, they back off. Wilson to the left side through the hands of intended receiver Brian Murray.
Wilson's pass intended for Murray.
Would have been good for about 8 yards if he was able to hold on. Oh, maybe more than that. Probably 10.
15.
Well, the bigger story here right now, they've taken 13 seconds off the clock. 2
Yeah,
plays, 13 seconds, and a penalty bringing the ball back the other way.
The incomplete passes really do hurt you in clock management here. Same formation. Reed looking left again. Ball sails on him over Murray's head.
Pass intended for Murray, incomplete.
4th and 15.
So a drive that started with 2:34 on the second quarter clock sets up a 4th and 15 with 2:16 left on the clock.
McQuarrie's in the punt.
So last time we had a low snap, McQuarrie couldn't get his foot into it. Didn't have time. And that's a high snap over his head.
More back deep for Holliston.
And he's going to get a foot into it anyway. And it's going to take a Westwood bounce. Nice athleticism shown there by Nick McQuarrie.
That's an incredible kick. That's a 50-yard punt that gets Holliston pushed back to their own 25-yard line.
McQuarrie.
He almost kicked that like a rugby kick.
He did. And rugby kicks, they're not intended to go a long way in the air. That they intend to get that bounce, and that's what Nick got there, was the favorable bounce. Pushing them back to the 25-yard line with 2 minutes left to play until halftime.
And you talked about the defense setting the tone. This is where the defense can make a play. Imagine the lift, the boost this would give everybody who's here tonight who's not wearing red and white as they go into the halftime. If the defense was able to force a fumble, get the ball in a position where you could score or score themselves, whether it be a pick six or a scoop and score by some of the defensive linemen or linebackers up front.
So Benko is back in, running the spread from the pistol. Drops back, looks like a quarterback draw, but he's not going anywhere. Colin Best grabs him from the shirt and behind.
Benko was in the grasp, but he didn't think he was. He got out of there, spun out, but it was well after he was ruled dead for sure. Clock running here, 1:38 to go.
A loss of 5 on the play. 2nd and 15. Panthers at their own 20.
Clock is running with the sack. Loss of 5. 2nd and 15 from the 20. Benko drops back. He's pushed out of the pocket. Low throw, and that'll stop the clock. Minute 16 left to go.
And it starts with pressure again And it was the same guy, Colin Best, who was just in on the sack on the previous play on first down. He was able to push Benko left, and Benko, once he was moving, didn't have a good opportunity to get that ball out to his receiver.
Incomplete pass brings up 3rd and 15. I'm a little surprised that Holliston would come out with this type of offense.
100% agree. If I'm them at this point, I'm running 3 plays, make them call their timeouts, maybe force me to punt, but at least give them the ball back on their side of the field.
You've got to be happy going into halftime with 3-score lead, but anything can happen here, throwing the ball in high school. Ball is down low. That's 3rd and 15, incomplete.
So now Westwood has not used their 2 remaining timeouts. There's 1:11 on the clock. They're faced with a 4th and 15. They got to punt the ball. That's a gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift. Now you got to take advantage of it.
Could be a long run back. We could have a bad snap on Holliston's part. Anything is possible in high school.
And we mentioned it earlier in the broadcast that Holliston's special teams had some issues last week. There was a bad snap on one of the punts. There was another punt that was shanked. So this is a real opportunity here for Westwood to do something. Number 1, field the ball cleanly. But we've got ourselves a penalty here called by the official that's all the way downfield by the returner, Jake Antonucci. And I think he's calling 12 men on the field for Westwood.
Too many on Westwood's side.
Coming out of the, there's no huddle. But yeah, they just coming off the field right now.
The penalty is against Westwood. 12 men on the field.
Caught in a personnel problem that adds 5 yards to this punt. And it looks like Holliston is now going to take a timeout and talk things over. But they're punting into the wind, in the rain. I watched the game film from the Millis game, and if I recall correctly, they did have a snap in that game go over the punter's head. So it's, like I said, in high school football, especially in inclement weather like this, anything is possible. Fourth and 10 from their 25 is Holliston. Tonight is a first event that kicks off a weekend event called Westwood Day. Tomorrow will be a celebration of the Westwood community here at the high school in the parking lot. Going on, I believe, about 6 years now, and it's been an incredible positive event for the community as a whole.
The first thing I want to say about Westwood Day for this year, whoever designed the logo did an unbelievable job. It's one of the best logos I've ever seen.
Snap is good. Punt is off, but it's not a good one. And it's rolling backwards like a nice wedge shot. That's going to be down at the 34-yard line. So Westwood set up a short field, 1:03 left to go in the clock till halftime.
Got to strike. Got to make this count some way, shape, or form. You've got to get the ball moved downfield, and you've got to get the ball in the end zone.
And though he was back there to retrieve the punt, if it went that far, I see Jake Antonucci limping off the field.
That goes in the book as a 9-yard punt, Chris.
Oh, no, that wasn't Jake. That's John Hannon shaking it off. So they need some clock management here. You have timeouts. You don't have to throw it to the sidelines. You can use the middle of the field. We have Fay in the backfield, along with Wilson. Antonucci split wide right. They're showing pressure. Now they're backing off. Rushing 3. Wilson spins, trying to get out of trouble. He does. He's holding that ball out. Really dangerous way to carry the football.
You can hear the coaches saying that he's carrying it like a loaf of bread. And that's
gains
exactly
about 6 yards. It's an old description, but it's appropriate. Clock continues to run on the run by Wilson.
They got 2 timeouts, 35 seconds with it running right now on second down.
We're going to have no penalty there, but a bad throw.
I'm with you on that. I'm surprised they didn't get a flag.
How did they not get a flag?
Maybe because he was moving backwards. No, he was never on the line, established on the line, so it could be argued that he was in motion.
He was the only one in motion.
Yeah.
It just looked really bad.
Yeah, it did. Looks very Canadian.
So the clock stops on the incomplete pass, thrown at the feet of the receiver, but actually ended up closer to the Holliston defender. So we got 3rd and 5. Would like to convert here, but if not, we might see a field goal attempt with the wind at the back. They come away with some points before halftime. Nick certainly got the leg to make it that
Yeah,
far.
McQuarrie has shown us a lot of good things over these first 2 games. They showed some great athleticism on that last punt, too, getting it off and getting it 50 yards downfield. That's basically set up this possession.
Wilson throws left, wide open, is out of the backfield, running a wheel route. That's Fay. He stays in bounds. The clock will stop with the chain advancement, but for some reason he chose not to go out of bounds on that play. That's kind of a sophomore move. Needs to understand the clock situation. Needless timeout usage there.
A good play, though.
It was an excellent play.
Inside the 10-yard line here, 17 seconds to play.
You got 3 shots in the end zone.
And you got 1 timeout left.
So you can throw over the middle and call timeout if necessary, but you'd like to hold on to that to get a field goal unit on the field if necessary. But maybe make 3 passes all the way to the end zone so you don't have to use a timeout. Fay in the backfield along with Wilson. Looking left. Back shoulder pass.
Incomplete.
Caught but out of bounds.
Pass intended for Brian Murray.
Brian Murray was the lone receiver on the left side. They were running trips right. Murray left, so it was an ISO play set up for Brian Murray, the senior. So that took 5 seconds off the clock. Leaves 12 remaining till halftime. 2nd and 10 from the 11. They can get a first, but that might almost be a problem. With the clock, there's not much time left here.
You said it, though, and they did a good job with it on first down there, getting the ball thrown to the end zone. It's either going to be a touchdown
or an incomplete.
Incompletion, clock stops.
Wilson looking right at the end zone. Caught and scores. It's Mark James, the sophomore receiver, scoring first for Westwood. We got a Westwood player down right around where the ball was caught. Might have been some confusion on the coverage there, getting knocked down, but he's getting up and making his way to the sideline. Can't quite tell who that is. Take number 22. Is that Jake Antonucci or 23?
Yeah, they have a 28, they got a 23, they got a 22. It's tough to tell, but I think it is 22 coming off. That's Antonucci. We'll talk a little bit more about that touchdown here after the extra point attempt because Reed Wilson did a great job in the face of great pressure.
Wilson is holding for the point after attempt. We got loaded left. Kick is blocked. Picked up there by Holliston, who can run it back all the way for a safety. And we got a penalty in their end zone. We got a penalty in the end zone. It looks like it's going to be against Holliston.
Let him run. Let him run.
Not sure what the rules are on that, on a penalty in their own end zone.
I don't know. We're about to find out.
If that's offense, that should be a safety.
I don't know.
But I don't know how it works out on a block kick. The back judge threw a flag. It was Jake Pfaff, the center, who was back there and got pushed in the back, it looked like.
The penalties on Holliston.
We will wait for the call and the signal.
I have no idea what you call.
Usually penalties in the end zone result in points. Push in the back. It's a safety.
Yeah, they give it to him. All right, so 21-8. That's something you don't see every day.
It's against Holliston.
So they don't score the 1-point conversion that they tried, but they get the 2-point by way of a safety on a block kick.
Just like you draw it up.
What I say, in high school football, anything is possible. That's a first for me. Never seen a block kick return penalty in the end zone for a safety.
Okay, going back to the touchdown. Reed Wilson dropping back, had a lot of pressure. He also had a lot of receivers downfield. And what he was able to do.
That type of play, it is 1 point that is awarded. The score is Holliston 21.
It's a 1-point safety.
Westwood 7.
There you go. Learn something about the rule books every time. But back to the touchdown. Reed did a great job. He had pressure in his face. He had receivers downfield. Receivers were open, but he had to get himself to a place where he could throw the ball to the receiver, and then he was able to find James. James made a great catch. It was not in stride. He had to catch it and spin and get to the end zone, and a critical touchdown for Westwood, who has not played well this first half, but it started with the athletic play of the punter. And how much have we talked about Nick McQuarrie? In every phase of what he does, kicking off, punting, and kicking, he makes plays, and the fact that he punted that ball 50 yards from the 25 to the 25 and set the defense up. And again, Holliston throwing the ball.
Yeah, I don't know
what the ball. What are they thinking? They basically just gave Westwood
a touchdown.
Points.
That's bad coaching, clock management from the sideline to elect to go with that offense when the war offense, the run offense, has been working so well. They're going to rethink that. 6 seconds left to go, in case you're wondering how much time is left on this extended version of first half of football. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes for one half. It's a squib kick down to about the 25-yard line, advances on the fumble to about the 27. 1 second ticks off the clock. 5 seconds remain. 21-7 our score.
Well, if you were watching last year's game where Westwood made the big comeback against Holliston, you know anything's possible. So here we go to the half with the Wolverines down 14 with some momentum, hopefully with some positive energy, and with the ability to turn it on after making some adjustments in the locker room. I'm going to crunch these numbers, get some stats together for you. Maybe we'll open up the second half of the broadcast, sort of recapping where we are through 22 minutes with the Wolverines down 14.
We're back getting ready for second half action between the Holliston Panthers and the Westwood Wolverines. I'm Chris Pfaff. We're back here with Tom Leyden calling tonight's action. Halftime score, Holliston 21, Westwood 7. Tom, your observations in the first half.
We're going to start with stats. I did my best.
All right.
These are by no means official, but they're as close as we're going to get. I think we are.
As soon as you say them, they're official.
We're in agreement with the folks sitting next to us from Holliston. I've got Reed Wilson as 4 out of 13 for 57 yards. He's got 1 touchdown and 1 interception. You know, he's missed a lot, but he's hit some opportune throws, and there have been others that he's missed that you know might be there in the second half. I got Antonucci with 32 yards out of the backfield. Reed Wilson has a yard himself. He lost 6 on a sack, and Colin Fay has carried the ball 6 times, but he's only been able to get 5 yards. So that's a kid who you'd like to see get out in some space there. On the receiving end, you got Brian Murray with a catch for 14 yards. Mark James, 1 catch for 11 yards and the touchdown. Kevin McDonald with a catch for 16 yards, and Colin Fay with a catch for 15 yards. Nothing bigger to say about that first half than the fact that that touchdown that Westwood scored, absolutely critical, because now they get the ball, and let's see if the offense can keep it going again.
Kind of pulling a Patriots move here, scoring late in the second and getting the ball first in the third. Westwood would love to build on that momentum that they ended that first half on. And again, I do not understand why Holliston went to the spread offense deep in their own territory with a couple minutes left.
We talked to the guys doing the game for the Holliston cable, and they weren't surprised by that. That's what they do. They're aggressive all the time, and you made a great point. You got to pick and choose when you're aggressive.
The time and a place to be aggressive. Custer was aggressive. He had a plan.
He's pulling history out on us right here. Very studious on us. I like it.
The kick is coming to Colin Fay. Takes it at the 10. Fumbled, but picked up right back. Takes it up the middle. He's met there by a couple of white jerseys at the 26-yard line where Westwood will set up shop. Also important to note, Westwood is going into this wind. It's not incredibly strong, but it is constant. They're going into the wind in the third quarter, which means it's going to be at their back in the fourth. So that could aid in kicking and throwing in the fourth quarter. But they like to get a sustained drive here, move the ball, work the clock, everything that you want. It's a whole new game here, and they really need to step up and play aggressive football.
A comment about the wind after this first play, because I've seen it work both ways, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean after we see what Reed's able to do here on first.
Give this to Antonucci, is set up in the backfield. He bounces it out to the right, but he's met there by a lot of white shirts.
Good push by Holliston on that one, but it's a well-conceived play. It's something you want to do with Jake. You want to get him on the outside. Now back to the wind for a second. You mentioned it, and it is blowing pretty good here from our left to our right. And I've seen it happen both ways where you want to, quote-unquote, have the wind in the fourth quarter. More often than not, I've seen the team that takes the wind in the third quarter take advantage of it right away and score some points and put the other team out of their game. Change their game plan, put them in a situation where they're doing things they don't necessarily want to do. And the first time I saw a team do that, I said, what are you doing? But then I saw it play out and I saw it work for them, and it seemed to make sense. Hopefully that won't happen tonight.
2nd and 11. They're on the scoreboard, they're registering a 2nd and 12. It looks like 11 to my eye. And we're going to have a whistle. Looks like a false start from the back judge.
Flag on the play, there is no play. The penalty is against Westwood.
And that we've seen 2 of those now from Reed, and what he's got to do is just look down the field. I mean, the guy gives you a clear indication when you're within 5 seconds.
Right.
So as soon as you see that indicator, you got to know you got to go.
2nd down and 17.
Now all of a sudden you've created a 2nd and 17 situation, and you're up against it here on a drive to start the third quarter that is pretty critical for your team.
Yeah, those are needless penalties and ones you don't expect to see from your senior quarterback. He's looking left, throwing to Antonucci out of the backfield. He can't shake the tackler. He's going to go down after a gain of about 2 yards. He's going to set up 3rd and about 15.
Really well defense there by Alex Kelly, who's one of their senior captains, 5'10", 190, the outside linebacker. He sniffed out the screen. Get past that one guy, and you've got some space. And I think that play is drawn up with the hope that you can get him one-on-one against the linebacker and take advantage of the mismatch. But really good job by Kelly right there.
Jake is moving slowly on the sideline, being attended to by Paul Lilla, the Westwood trainer, asking him what's wrong. 3rd and 15 from the 21. They're bringing heat. They're set up the screen for Westwood. It falls incomplete.
Nothing was there. It just wasn't there.
That pass was intended for Colin Fay, but they sniffed it out. So it'll be 4th and 15, deep in their own end. Really could use a favorable punt here by Nick McCory. He's got to get his hands on the ball first, though.
Yeah, we need a good snap. There hasn't been a good snap yet
There's
tonight.
A good
there
one.
It is.
Gets it off. Nice spiral kick, hung up in the wind. Fair caught there by Seymour on the 44-yard line.
Made by Brad Seymour.
Call that one 36. So he's got a 50-yard punt, which was the turning point of the game for the Westwood kids in the first half, and now a 36-yard punt here to start the third quarter.
8:41 left in this third quarter.
1st and 10, Holliston.
And Antonucci does not appear to be in the game right now on defense. Looks like Jack Hannon is spelling him. Set up in the war. The pitch is to Armstrong. It's caught there by Brian Murray, but not till after a gain of 5. So that one play, 5 yards, they're getting that push on the line. Westwood's defensive line just can't match that push. We got a personnel problem.
They did, and Westwood called a timeout. It forced them to call a timeout. They had too many men on the field. The coaching staff to our left was calling it out.
Somebody went in and didn't tell the person they were going in for. It's like Pfaff came out after the timeout was called. The player who goes in has to tell the person they're going in for to come out.
And you don't want to see a timeout called there, but you also can't afford to get the penalty, which would have put them close to a first down.
Same play goes to Armstrong. He bounces it out the outside, gets outside. It's going to be brought down very close to the line to gain.
That was Dwayne Fahey who actually came around the right side.
My mistake.
Sorry about that.
Armstrong must have been on the sideline taking a breath. It's going to be short by about a half a yard, and maybe a full yard at that.
In your defense, it's difficult to see who's going to get the ball because of that formation. They're so close, tightly packed to where the quarterback and center and guards are. You tell me by looking at that who's going to get this ball.
It's the same one, Fahy, again, who picks and finds a hole before cutting it upfield. Good for a first. So Westwood, what they were doing was they were stacking. They brought out a linebacker and put in an additional lineman trying to counter the push that's happening on this from this offensive line by Holliston. There's the counter. Nobody picks it up. That's that freshman.
Yep, Benson Tristan.
One of the nicer or cooler names in the TVL.
5'7", 155.
Tristan, the ball carrier.
We get a fresh ball brought in from the Holliston sideline to work with. So it looks like Seymour and Armstrong are in. Excuse me. So they're bringing in 2 new running backs every 2 or 3 plays with fresh legs. And all the while, Ryan Benko sits on the sideline. 2nd and 6. Give us to Armstrong. Nice job sniffing that out.
Yeah, that's a really good job, Drew Durker, on the tackle there, and they strung it out. And the issue is, though, the way they're running this offense, you got to put a few of those together. You can't make one play out of every 4 or 5 that they run. You got to stack them up and get them off the field.
Well, we're at 3rd and 5. We have seen one halfback option off of this war offense setup. So we got Armstrong, the wing left, wing right. He gets the toss, running to his left, sniffs out a hole. It's going to be stopped right at the line to gain and just over it. 3rd and 4, he got 4 1/4.
The gain is enough for a first down. 1st and 10, Holliston at the Westwood 33.
Westwood defensive line has got to be getting tired.
Well, when the guys, many of them go both ways too, there's no question about that. And this drive is eating up some good time too. They've already just cleared the 3-minute mark on this drive.
We're going to have a timeout by Holliston. They wanted to talk things over.
And Holliston takes timeout. It is their first timeout.
So Westwood has not been, they haven't had to worry about a pass rush. They haven't had to worry about pass coverage for the most part. It's just stopping that run.
Exactly.
And they don't seem to have an answer for this.
Because when they have had to throw, they've done a pretty good job. They've done a real good job about getting after the quarterback.
Well, when you ask Ryan Benko to come off the sideline and throw without much, it's kind of like a basketball player coming off the bench. He needs to get into a rhythm. Needs to get in. So when you ask Benko to come in and just start throwing the ball, it's very difficult to get into a rhythm and get things moving that quickly.
And the other thing I've noticed about this play that they're running is the quarterback will pitch the ball to the running back, and then he almost becomes another blocker. So they're getting another body right in front of the running back, and there's just a mismatch in terms of numbers. It's almost like they're running the Wildcat because you've got 10 guys out there.
Well, everyone's blocking.
Yeah.
He's not just handing the ball up. They have 10 blockers and 1 ball carrier. There's a counter up the middle. Stop there after a couple-yard gain.
That's another underclassman. That's Dylan Ibbotson.
Dylan Ibbotson, the ball carrier.
Gain of about 2. So it brings up 2nd and 8.
Gain of 1 on the play, 2nd and about 9.
There's a and sweep. Nothing doing.
Yep.
Slipped, but Brian Murray was there to stop him, even if he had kept his feet. That's going to set up a 3rd down and long. 10.
Like when you come downstairs in the morning and the breakfast is right on the table. There's not a lot of work to be done. You just say thanks very much and you eat.
Just get to the table. So we're in a passing down, a rare passing situation. But Benko is on the field now, so they're going to switch back to the spread offense.
And Westwood pulls Best off the field.
Looking for a little speed as a pass rush here. But they're in 2-down territory here. That gives a jet sweep on the right side. Good play call. Now you pick up a bulk of that 10. Gets probably 6, maybe 7.
Kevin Quinn, the ball carrier.
No, 6. There's going to be, it's going to set up a 4th and 4. In this area of the field in high school, you typically go for it on 4th and 4. So here we go. A stop here would certainly mean a lot to the Wolverines. And they're back in that pistol. Westwood showing blitz. He's looking left, looking in the corner of the end zone. He's got his man beat. It's Mark James on the coverage. The sophomore just got beat on the route.
And that's Seymour with his second touchdown of the game, and that was just
4th and 4.
One-on-one, you know, man on man. And Seymour just took advantage of his speed, got himself some space. Easy pitch and catch for 6.
Extra point try would make it 28-7.
Extra point try. Holding.
Kick is up and good.
Kick is good. The try is successful.
3:23 left to go in this third, and that puts Westwood down 3 scores. 28-7 our score. Holliston in the lead. That could be a backbreaker.
This is a lost cell phone. If anybody sees a cell phone, iPhone 6.
So Holliston
White
went.
with a gray case.
They got the ball on their own
6, white
44-yard
with a gray
line
case.
with 8:41 to
somebody
play.
looking for it.
So they took off about
find it, please
5
bring
minutes
it
and
up
18
here.
seconds before they punched that one
there's a young fan
into the end
who's
zone.
very
So
unhappy.
Westwood's
I
got
hope that
themselves in a
somebody
situation
finds
where
it.
they can't
White
afford to not score.
iPhone
You know, they
6.
can't
If you
afford to
see a
not
lost
score, give the
phone,
ball back, and
please bring
give
it up
Holliston
here.
the
We're
opportunity
very
to get the
good
ball
at
in the end
returning
zone
it to the
again.
rightful owners.
And maybe you change the pace. You know, at this point, you do something a little bit different. You try to put Holliston on their heels. One of the things that they've been able to do so far tonight is push the pace, get the ball right back on the line of scrimmage after a run.
Mulvaney's kick comes to Fay. He has a hard time controlling the ball. He had a hard time. He had dropped fumble on a punt on Saturday against Norwood. That's the second mishandled
10-yard line.
kick he's had, setting Westwood up deep in there. They got to go 90 yards. Very difficult to do.
I like to see them run that play that they ran in the second quarter, that when they had the 3rd and 20, where they had the 4 receivers going down the field and Reed dropping straight
They just
back.
ran a wheel route to Fay out of the backfield.
The one that went incomplete. The one that was incomplete,
Oh,
they didn't get it. But
that
it
was to Murray.
There.
Yeah.
It was there. That's the kind of play I'd like to see him go back to, and there's really no time but now. I don't know what they're waiting for.
Well, what they're doing hasn't been working. So you got to maybe go deeper into the playbook. Find something that Holliston is not expecting. But it always comes down to execution. Wilson's got time. Now they break through. Everyone covered. Looking downfield, every green shirt had a white shirt on it.
Yeah, and what the guys got to do there, and I know they got to stay true to their routes to a certain extent, but the second that Reed starts to move, everybody else has to move with him. You
Exactly.
got to get yourself in some sort of open space. Try moving towards the passer and give him an opportunity to get the ball to you.
Reed rolled out. He stayed in the pocket for a little bit, but he rolled out, and there were 2 of his 4 receivers. One was in the middle of the field, and one stayed on the far left side of the field, giving him really just 2 receivers, and one of them was out of the backfield to throw to, and everyone was covered. 2nd and 10 for Wilson and company. Hand off to Antonucci off the right side. He bounces outside. Missed tackles. He steps out of bounds after a gain of about 8. Now they're going to give him 7. So it brings up 3rd and 3 from the 17-yard line.
Stepped out of bounds at the 17-yard line. A gain of 7 on the play.
And it looks like we might have somebody
3rd down
hurt
and 3.
on the far side.
Yeah, right in front of the Holliston group of players on the sideline.
And officials timeout and injury timeout.
Looks like it's Jake Antonucci. Might be down. He's been
Once again, message
hobbling.
for all the fans. If
Yeah, it seems
anybody
he's
finds
got
a cell
something
phone,
that's persistent.
please bring it up here.
He
Something
lost-
looking for one.
most of the season last year to an injured ankle. And it was a big loss. In the same game, we lost Dylan Linehan, who was a senior and two-way starter, and Jake Antonucci, a junior, but two-way starter. So in one game, they lost essentially four starting positions.
And he's done a good job fighting through it, but we've seen him a number of times hobble off here tonight. So you give him a lot of credit for showing heart. And what happens when he comes off the field is it's as much a mental blow as it is a physical blow. And it looks as though he's going to try to
running,
do it again.
Almost as fast as out for a pass coming off the field there. So you've got to sit out at least one play. That's the rule if they come out to attend to you and you're injured. 3:03 left to go in the third. Westwood looking at 3rd and 3. Would love to convert here. Wilson looking right, short pass. Pass is incomplete. Bobbled there, falls to the turf. Brian Murray, the senior, unable to hold on. That's going to bring in the punting team.
He had the first down yardage. He was right there. He was falling back, but you got to catch it.
Yeah, there was no one between he and Reed, so there didn't seem to be any reason why he shouldn't have caught that ball. Perhaps maybe it was wet. Good snap. Good kick. Seymour gathers it in midfield. He's got a run back going. He's tackled. Looks like Mike Hanlon on the punt team brought him down, but not until after a long run back. And we got Colin Best, number 77, still on the turf, helmet off. It's a 27-yard run back. Well, the Westwood players are just dropping like flies right now.
It's been a battle of attrition, and it has been their best players too. You know, you don't want to lose anybody, but you certainly don't want to lose the guys who make the biggest difference on both sides of the ball, and that has been the case so far. It's even before tonight, because we noticed as the game started that Connor Powers isn't even in uniform tonight.
I think it's safe to say that a comeback at this point would be up there with a similar achievement to the Patriots beating the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Certainly score-wise, it's close. 28-7 with 2:46 left to go in the third. Colin being helped off the field. Looks like a right lower leg. He's walking very gingerly.
And this is where the numbers and the number of people who play football really comes to the forefront, because when you start losing veteran, experienced players, what happens is you get the youngsters in there who are undersized, who don't have the experience, and start making the mistakes in that regard. So let's see what the defense can do stepping up here.
They're in the spread. They come running left around the corner. It's pushed back inside. Fahey, that freshman. Looks like Pfaff brought him down. He's taking himself out, tapping himself. So it looks like Hanlon going in. Looks like he has an equipment problem.
Gain of 3 on the play, 2nd and 7.
Fixing Jake Pfaff's helmet on the sideline. That gain of about 2 brings up 2nd and 8. Holliston going with that spread offense. They bring motion right. Go a counter left. Seymour goes untouched into the end zone.
Seymour, the ball carrier for Holliston, into the end zone.
That was a counter. You saw it, and they had him fooled right from the snap.
They did. Nobody on the line knew who had the football. Have to give him credit. It was a quick counter.
25-yard touchdown run.
Well-designed play and executed very nicely.
Mulvaney is in for the extra point try. Benko holding.
And we're going to have a Westwood player running out there last second. The field extra point is good.
Kick is good to try a successful.
What happens is people get hurt and they play a number of positions in a number of different units, and so you have somebody on the extra point who was supposed to be in there, and that's why they're short a man. So Seymour into the end zone 3 times tonight, and it's amazing to think that this team was pretty much manhandled by Lincoln Sudbury last week.
It's hard to tell if, well, I should say, to my observation, it looks like Holliston is making Westwood perform poorly. It's not that Westwood is shooting themselves in the foot. They are forcing execution problems. By the pace of play, as you mentioned, they're bringing it to Westwood. They have more want tonight than does Westwood.
It's not an iPhone.
So Mulvaney, he might get a leg cramp. He's been kicking off so much tonight. Ball is caught. Brian Murray's going to the right side. Cuts it in. Nice return. About the 28-yard line. 1:45 left to go in the third. Chris Pfaff and Tom Leyden here giving the action at Flahay Field in Westwood, Massachusetts. Holliston Panthers lead the Wolverines of Westwood 35-7.
If you're still hanging out with us, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
At this point, we may have friends and relatives watching.
As a running back with a hug. Tell him to get up front so I can see that he's in.
Frustration abounds here on the Westwood sideline. Looks like Brian Murray has got an injured left hand, maybe a thumb, looking at on the sideline. Wilson passes to his right side. Ball's complete.
Wilson's pass complete.
Caught
Durker.
by Durker, who is hobbling. He came out once before with an injured lower leg, but he's staying out there. Antonucci is with him, split right.
5 on the play, 2nd and 5 at the 34.
2nd and 5, ball on the 34. Wilson looking right, same play. Ball is caught. It's going to be close to a first down.
Wilson complete to Durker.
Looks like they're moving the chains. Seems like it's been a while since they've had a first down.
First down, 1st and 10.
Their touchdown. That was their last first down.
That was a while ago. The short passes, be happy with the short passes. I don't know why that's not being capitalized on more. He lofts it up over the, caught by Antonucci, out to the left. Oh, no, that's Hannon.
Yep.
Strike that. Gain of 5.
Wilson's pass complete to John Hannon. Tackled by Gimblett. A gain of 6 on the play.
You mentioned it, though, and this is
Second down
what we
and
talked
4
about, too.
from the Westwood
At this point,
45.
you got to pick it up. You got to pick it up. You got to get moving and get these plays called quickly and go.
Going over the middle. We got a holding there, but goes uncalled, and the ball was underthrown and picked off by the Holliston defender.
Roll that one back, and you're going to see interference. There's no question about that. He was interfered with as he went down the field, and the fact that that penalty wasn't called is a head-scratcher because he had a step, and I think the ball would have gotten there, and the Holliston defender just reached and caught him, and the flag didn't come out of the ref's pocket, and that's frustrating for a team that's trying to overcome a 28-point deficit.
Drew Durker was the intended receiver. So that sets up 1st and 10 for the Panthers on their 37-yard line. What we may see now is perhaps some substitutions by Coach Pindell. In the spread offense, Benko calls motion. They give a jet sweep on the right side. Cuts it upfield. Nobody there to stop him after a gain of 8.
Kevin Quinn, the ball carrier.
Quinn was the carrier. Brought down by, looks like maybe Berluti and Loughnane in on that tackle.
You've got Murray on the sideline with ice on his hands. You've got Best on the sideline sitting on the bench. And you've got Connor Powers sitting on the sideline without shoulder pads on and hasn't played all
And
night.
unfortunately, Dawson was taken away off the field on a stretcher earlier in the game. So, very difficult.
And once again, I did have a cell phone turned in.
So as you look ahead,
Up here, it is a black
I guess it's
cell
okay
phone
for us to do that now as the fourth
with a
quarter's about to start.
gold-looking case.
It's a short
with
week,
tassel on it.
Because
Has
next
some
week
sort
you have
of
Yom Kippur, so the
kickstand.
team, a lot of action is going to be played next
Can't
Thursday
tell
night.
What kind of phone it is. Not an iPhone.
So you're gonna see
Will not turn on.
Bishop Fian come in here next Thursday night,
Please
and then they
check
come
you
back
have
to
your
play in the
phone.
TVL October 6th when they
Your
hit the
black
road
cell
for a
phone
pair,
with gold case.
one against Hopkinton and then
Please
one
come to
against
see me.
Medfield. And then Norton wraps up the traditional 7-game schedule on October 20th.
Bishop Fian, at this point, I believe they're 0-2 on their season. And they're playing Hopkinton right now. So Hopkinton looking to extend to a 3-0 start for their season. Bishop Fian looking for their first win. So we're back, 1st and 10 on the 47.5-yard line. Off the right tackle, nobody there to contend. Not one person laid a hand on the running back.
That's Dylan Ibbotson. And Dylan Ibbotson is a sophomore, 5'6", 166. He had one carry prior to that one tonight. Untouched, 53 yards.
Just cannot close up the holes. I don't know if this is a scheme problem, a personnel problem, or just not executing tackling or fending off the blocks to make to the tackle. Mulvaney, first one to be missed. 10:49 left to go. That makes the score 41 for Holliston, 7 for Westwood.
Holliston 41, Westwood 7.
It's just
30.
painful to say.
34?
What'd I say?
No, you 34 point. When do they run the clock?
Oh,
Is it 35? I think it's a 35, isn't it?
a constant running clock. Looks like kick return team,
Got two baseball
Jake Antonucci is
scores
still
for you.
out there.
6th inning, Red Sox 5, Reds 4. And in the 7th inning, Blue Jays 8, Yankees 1.
Not much.
So what would you do? Fourth quarter, this one's out of reach. Would you look at your other players?
No, I would like to see.
Would you move for momentum for next week?
Yeah, I really would. I'd like to see Reed Wilson consistently throw 5, 6, 7-yard plays.
I have to think Holliston's going to start subbing in on defense
Yeah.
and offense for that matter, but the defense is what we're looking at. Colin Fay picks it up at his 15, stopped there after a gain of 9 on the return at the 24.
Fay returned the kickoff.
So 10:43 to go after Holliston puts the first play of the fourth quarter into the end zone. And they're
As-
sticking with the regulars, as you'd expect. These guys need the work.
As you mentioned, Brian Murray on the sideline, his helmet is off. He's got ice on his left hand, left thumb, I think. So he's a two-way player, and he's sitting down for the rest of tonight.
1st and 10.
So we'll be seeing some new receivers.
24.
Looks like Mark James is in for Brian Murray.
Got Hannon out there. Got Antonucci split.
Up the middle. Nice run. Colin Fay keeping both hands on the ball.
It's a very young team out there right now. And it's a good opportunity for them to get some experience. I don't think that's an injury. I think that's a cleat.
Yeah, the shoe came out of the foot. Shoe came off the foot. So after the gain of 7, it'll set up 2nd and 3. Good run by Colin. Good hole by the offensive line. Did a nice job carrying the ball with two hands over until he got to the second level. Same play, bounces it outside. Cuts it upfield.
Love it.
Another 5-yard, 6-yard pickup. Good for a first down, moving the chains.
The gain is enough for a Westwood first down.
If you
First
can
and
get
10,
Colin Fay,
Wolverines at
who's
their own 38.
gotten opportunities, he got 6 runs in the first half, wasn't able to break any. If you can get him moving in a positive direction and just get his frame of mind in the right spot entering next week, that's one of the positives you can take away from tonight.
Fay back with Wilson again. Right up the middle goes Fay. Tripped up there at the line of scrimmage, but he falls forward for a gain of about 3.
So a quick 17 yards for Colin Fay on those 3 plays.
Fay comes out to take a rest.
A gain of 3 brings up 2nd and 7 from the Westwood 41.
Looks like Westwood's just going to be content to run the ball the rest of tonight. They may throw a few passes in there, but they don't want to expose Reed. It's Chris Bezdesdino? Pronunciation escaping me. We'll call him Chris Bez.
Bezdesdino.
Bez for short.
Bez. We're just going Bez. I think it's Bezdedino. Bezdedino.
And we got
Chris,
another.
Please send us an email with the pronunciation of your name.
Cards and letters.
And I apologize that we butchered it.
Officials
And we have another Westwood player down on the ground. Can't tell from this view who it is. Believe it is a lineman, though, given the spot that he fell.
Looks like the center. Because we see somebody on the sideline here, 76.
Yeah, Owen Plouffe.
Owen Plouffe is taking some warm-up
Yeah,
snaps.
so that would mean Declan Burke is the center. He may be the one down on the ground, but merely conjecture at this point. 8:27 left to go in this one. 41-7 our score. Holliston in the lead. Lots of time spent with players on the turf here for Westwood.
Good to see him run off. That when someone's holding their arm like that, that would seem to indicate something shoulder related, but
yeah, it doesn't
keep
look
an eye
good.
on it.
Looks to be in a lot of pain.
We'll keep an eye on that as the offense continues to move the ball down the field here on the 40-yard line with 8:16 to go and the clock running.
Loss of 1 on the play. It is 3rd and 8.
It was Declan Burke.
40.
So now you're working with the backup center. So keep your eye on that center quarterback exchange.
Little high snap, but handled nicely. Thrown to the outside there to, looks like that's Kevin Gallagher.
Intended for Kevin Gallagher.
And that was a really good defensive play by
Broken up
Anthony
by Anthony
Zindale.
And that brings the punt team out of 4th and 8.
McQuarrie is into punt.
With all these injuries, it's difficult on these special teams to know who's sub for who.
Yeah, and we saw that on the extra point down here on the right side when they made the score 35-7.
No play.
People just, you know who you're supposed to sub in for on defense, and you know who you're supposed to sub in for on offense.
But special
teams a whole different ball of wax.
The penalty is against Westwood.
So that'll set them back 5, setting up a 4th and 12. Maybe 13.
4th down and 14.
Snap is good. Punt is blocked. Blocked right into the back of his upbacks. I'm not sure they were blocked, they were pushed backwards. I'm not sure why he's kicking so close to the blocking backs.
You know, there have been issues with the snap, and it's just issues with positioning. The ball is wet. It's just a unique night with some bad conditions. And frankly, it's par for the course tonight.
So Holliston will take over. New set of downs, 1st and 10 on their own 30, on Westwood's 36.
No. You got 11. Who's out there?
Looks like Holliston, not sure if they took a timeout, but they're taking their time.
Yeah. Actually, they got the ball on the 27.
You're right. I was checking on the scoreboard, not on the field. So Benko in there. A little surprised they're not running that war offense, but maybe they want to get some work in here. That's not Benko.
Yeah, well, they've
Good
done
D there.
what you expected them to do. They have made their substitutions and taken the snaps right now as a sophomore by the name of Matt
For 20, Matt
Arvanitis.
quarterback for Holliston.
So he gets an opportunity to get some
25, Logan Brooks.
varsity
with the handoff.
experience.
Tackled by Berluti. A loss of 1 on the play, 2nd and 11.
Second and 12 after the loss of 2. They bring motion. Turns and hands off in the backfield. Caught. Kevin McDonald, nice pressure off the defensive end position. Did a nice job slowing that play up. And Westwood is now bringing in a host of subs on defense.
I think we're also in a running clock situation. Just talking to Tony, who works the scoreboard here, he was telling me if it's not 35, both coaches have to agree that they can let the clock run. And with 4:39 to go here, I think that's the situation we're in.
Play 3rd down and 17.
Looking to pass. The sophomore rolls right. Looking downfield. Ball is looked like intercepted by Westwood.
Arvanitis is passed.
Caught there by, looks like Braden Locknane, the safety. Made the turnover there. So running clock,
Pass intercepted by Westwood, number 6, Braden Locknane.
3:55 left to go in this one. Clock is running, as you mentioned, even though it was a change of possession.
First and 10, Westwood.
Listen,
at their
with the
own
pace,
13.
they may not run a play before the clock runs out. I mean,
They are taking their time.
It's 41-7, but at some point you just got to bring a little bit of urgency.
Well, we did see in that Pembroke game, you were noticing how even when the clock was a factor, they were seemingly in a hurry-up mode, but taking 10 seconds in between plays.
He dropped the ball. I think Holliston just fell on it.
Exchange unclean, quarterback to running back. Holliston falls on it, and they take over.
Christopher Bez, the ball carrier for Westwood. Fumble on the play, recovered by Holliston.
Ball was on the 14-yard line for Holliston. They take over, 1st and 10. Really,
First and goal for the 9.
Just inside the Westwood 10.
so I'm relying on the scoreboard.
Bro, what you're doing is you're looking at that's where it was.
That's
the
where the
last
previous,
play.
yes. It hadn't been advanced, so I took it for granted. So there are likely 4 plays to be run here, working the clock all the way down. And there's a timeout, which,
Holliston
despite
takes
what's
timeout.
happening, does stop the clock.
Yes.
It's the essence of a timeout is to stop the clock. So, one drive.
Yeah.
and it was a short drive.
But it started with the punt that went 50 yards, and they got the ball in the short field and took advantage of it. High school football is just weird. You know, you're going to get yourself in strange mismatches, and until you get to November and the teams are whittled down and you really know who's good, you're going to see a lot of mismatches. And Holliston's a perennial power, and this is a school that turns it over year in and year out. They're obviously hyped up tonight going up against one of their arch rivals, and they're going to go home pretty happy on that bus.
It does make the bus ride home a whole lot more fun to have a victory in your pocket. Up the middle on the read option. It fumbles it, but picked up quickly there by a trailing Panther.
Logan Brooks, the ball carrier.
That'll be a loss of 5. So it'll be 2nd and goal from the 14.
There's a loss of 5 on the play. The 2nd and goal just inside the Westwood 14.
Arvanitis in the pistol. Off tackle, very simple play. Stopped after a gain of about 3. Minute 20 and counting on this in this one.
Probably looking at your last 2 plays right here. 3rd and goal and 4th and goal.
Here's a gain of 4 on the play. It's 3rd and goal at the 10.
Nice job, guys. I really believe that he just moved the whole set out of Westwood.
So here we go, 3rd and goal. Arvanitis calls his own number. The keeper goes nowhere, loses a few.
Yeah, the question here will be whether or not they even run another play.
Don't believe they
Clock
need to.
running, 31 seconds, that may be all she wrote.
Loss of 2 on the play, 4th and goal at the 12.
So as you mentioned, they have a short week coming up against Bishop Fien. Thoughts on things to work on for Coach Pindell and the Wolverines?
They got to get healthy, and I don't know how you're going to accomplish that, but the injuries tonight, right from the outset, really setting the tone on this one. And it's devastating, too, because you never want to see anybody get hurt. But what's happening is the injuries are coming at key positions. And these guys somehow got to try to get healthy. And the only positive you take out of that tonight is that some guys who are typically subs got an opportunity to get out of the field. But a short week, right back here for Bishop Fien, and we'll see how they bounce back.
So for Tom Leyden, I'm Chris Pfaff. Thank you very much for tuning in. Final score tonight, 41 for Holliston, 7 for Westwood. We'll see you back here on Thursday night against Bishop Fien. Thank you. Bye-bye.